Hello and welcome back to another Monster Monday, a series where I'll be drawing a creature from D&D and I'll be talking about its lore, its history, where it comes from, what it's like to fight, all of that good stuff. Today, you and I are going to embark on a mystery. We're going to be looking into a creature called the Gorgon. Why the hell it's called that? The Gorgon super confused me when I first started playing D&D because it is nothing like the Gorgons in myths and legends, the legends that I was familiar with. But what is a Gorgon in D&D? Let's clarify that first. So, you'll see as I'm drawing along, it's a giant bull. It's a giant metallic bull though. It's made out of plates of metal, is the only way it's described. It stands about 6 feet tall. It's a large, monstrous creature. Large monstrosity, I should say, according to 5th edition. It actually has a really lovely description right next to it in the monster manual, where it says, horrific structure. A Gorgon's iron plates range from steely black to gleaming silver, but its natural armor in no way hinders its movement or mobility. The oils of its body lubricate the armor. A sick or inactive Gorgon gathers rust like fungus or mange. When a rusty Gorgon moves, its plates squeal as they rub together. That can't just be it, right? This is a challenge rating 5 creature, fair dues, it's an iron bull. It's a metallic living bull. That's pretty crazy, pretty scary. That's not all there is to a Gorgon. Those who are familiar with myths and legends, who have heard the name Gorgon before, will be thinking, at what point does this thing turn things to stone? And we're just getting to that point. Its breath is the main focal point of the Gorgon. It has this putrid green breath. It's constantly fuming out of its nostrils, which can instantly turn someone to stone. Its petrifying breath attack, which you can do once every 5 or 6 turns, says that the Gorgon exhales petrifying gas in a 30-foot cone. Each creature in that area must succeed on a Constitution saving throw. If they fail, they turn to stone. Now, unlike the cockatrice that we talked about in a previous video, slightly stricter restrictions on how to get out of this stone form. You have to be freed by a greater restoration spell or other magic like that, something like a wish. It's not just a remove curse spell. It doesn't go away. So once you are petrified by a Gorgon, you stay petrified. You are made of stone. So these guys are pretty scary. Those iron plates all over them, or whatever metal it happens to be, if it can rust, it sounds like it's iron, gives it an armor class of 19. It's a really, really tough creature to hit. It has a load of health. It's got plus 5 strength. It's got 20 strength. So this thing is very, very scary. It's got a huge constitution. It's got 18 constitution, so a plus 4. It's terrible with intelligence. It's got a minus 4 in intelligence and a minus 2 in charisma. It's got plus 4 to perception, so it's pretty hard to sneak up on. And interestingly, it's immune to its own petrification. It's immune to petrification at all. It's got dark vision up to 60 feet, and unlike a lot of other magical beasts that we've found so far, this one cannot speak. It doesn't know any languages. You can't communicate with it at all. On top of its petrifying breath, it's got a gore attack. It can hit you with those massive horns. Each one of those horns dealing d12 damage each, so in total, it ends up being 2d12 plus 5 damage for a gore attack, which is hefty. And if piercing damage is not working for it, it has a bludgeoning attack with its metal hooves. It can deal 2d10 plus 5 bludgeoning damage, raising up on its back legs to smack someone in the face with what is essentially 2 mallets attached to its legs. Even scarier though, if the Gorgon moves at least 20 feet in a straight line, it can charge at you. It moves 20 feet of its potential 40 feet movement, and then it uses a gore attack. If it does the gore attack after that point, you need to succeed on a strength saving throw or you are knocked prone, which will give the creature advantage to attack you, or it could just breathe on you. Who knows? Bad times. So the Gorgon is pretty terrifying to fight. We know that it's aggressive in nature. It's massively aggressive in nature. It'll attack absolutely any living creature that it sees. And if it's faced with multiple foes, it'll go straight for that breath attack in a cone. Potentially a TPK. All well and good, and a staple of D&D. We know that it's been in the game since the beginning. But the name Gorgon, that's what I want to find out about today. Because I feel like Gary Gygax got a little bit confused when he was creating this creature. He mixed up a few myths and a few legends. Because to me, I know Gorgons as something totally different. In Greek mythology, where the word comes from, Gorgons aren't bulls, they're not made of metal. They definitely do turn people to stone though. But we all know one Gorgon, the very, very famous Medusa. Medusas are actually in D&D, and I'm not going to go into them into too much depth because I would love to do a separate video on them. But the Medusa and her sisters in Greek myths are the Gorgons. All women, all scaly, serpents for hair, all that kind of stuff, in no way connected to bulls or metal of any kind. They were female creatures, started off as women who were cursed. Again, I won't go into it too much. They were cursed to be dreadful. Dreadful being the ancient Greek word Gorgos, hence the name, actually derives from the Sanskrit garg. I'm not going to be able to pronounce it quite right because it's described as a guttural word, probably one of the first onomatopoeias, similar to the growling sound of a beast, basically. These three sisters were cursed to have serpents for hair, scaly skin, all that good stuff, and to be so hideous, to be so gorgos, to be so dreadful that their visage would turn people to stone. So there's two other Greek legends that I think Gary maybe got these mixed up with. So he remembers Gorgon maybe being monster, I don't know, and definitely knowing about the turning people to stone. Now the first one that came to mind was a story from Jason and the Argonauts. And in that story, there are two mythical bronze bulls. They were crafted by Hephaestus, the god of smiths and metallurgy, craftsmen, creators, all this kind of stuff. Hephaestus was the guy who invented the lightning bolts that and crafted them on a regular basis that Zeus would throw as weapons. He would, use lightning as a weapon. And these became one of Jason's many challenges to get the golden fleece. These bronze bulls, these sentient bronze bulls, would breathe fire, very similar to the kind of petrifying breath that the Gorgon in D&D has. They would breathe fire, and they were absolutely near indestructible. Jason's task, one of his trials to get the fleece, was to tame these bulls, these fire-breathing bulls, and force them to plough a field, but metallic bulls we're in, okay, it's very similar. They're bronze, but not, kind of iron or whatever metal they're made of in D&D. We have a Greek story, we have bulls with a particular breath problem, halitosis of one kind or another, but there's another story that kind of links this together as well. Now forgive me if I butcher this one, because the other story that sounds fairly similar to the description of a D&D Gorgon are the Catoblepas. Fingers crossed that was right. Now they're buffalo originating in legend from Ethiopia, whose heads are so heavy that they cannot lift them off the ground. Imagine the idea with them being a kind of pack animal, that their horns would drag into the dirt, making them great pack animals if they would sow seeds afterwards. Their name, Catoblepas, actually means to look downwards. And they're described as sluggish, and according to Claudius Aelianus, a Roman author who lived sometime between 175 and 235 AD, they had narrow bloodshot eyes, they were covered in hair, they were very thin, they had scaly skin, maybe like the plates of metal that we see on the Gorgon. They had scaly skin, but importantly, they were doing us a service by never being able to raise their heads because their breath could either kill someone instantly or it could turn someone to stone, so it's very good that they couldn't look up. So I think the Gorgon was a product of confusion on the part of Gary. When he was writing D&D, he maybe thought of Hephaestus's bulls from Jason and the Argonauts, these metallic bulls breathing fire, mixed it up perhaps with these buffalo with the petrifying breath. Maybe he couldn't quite think of what their name was when he was writing it and thought, I know another creature from Greek legends that turns people to stone. Maybe it's an umbrella term for monster that turns things to stone. Let's go with Gorgon. Either way, the Gorgon is absolutely dreadful. It is hugely terrifying. It is a cool as hell creature, and I have absolutely loved drawing one today. Fought them a few times in D&D. They are truly scary. And just imagining how some sort of monstrosity that is maybe like hollow and filled with this gas that it makes that turns people to stone, made out of sliding plates of metal. It's really exciting. So thank you for following me on this little journey of discovery to finally figure out this mystery that has puzzled me ever since I first started playing D&D. And if that's ever bothered you, then hopefully now you know the answer. That's been the Gorgon, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you liked this video, please make sure to leave a little thumbs up down below. Maybe favorite the video as well. And if you know someone who might enjoy this as well, make sure to tap that little subscribe button for more videos like this every single week. Make sure to share this video with somebody else who you think might have struggled with this one in the past. And until next time, I'll see you later.